Welcome back, baseball fans. 1971-74 off-season eliminating the Ohio players video. This is where the teams are pull the 71 cards out to prepare for next year's 72 through 75. First look, first thing I do as soon as a team gets eliminated, get an idea of what's going to happen, and we're going to go to the Ohio players team. Here's the results from the season we just played. They were up against it in a tough division, as the Expos, Tigers, and Indians all improved, and the Ohio players took the brunt of that improvement. They scored 102 runs, gave up 141, just to give you some idea. They were 19 and 22 a year ago. This year, 8 and 17. So they an overall they are 6 games worse. Their stats are pretty close though. The batting average is 261. The ERA is about around the same. So it's just about the other teams in their division just got a lot better where they didn't. Gene Klein's at a 353 year, but it wasn't played enough. Could have played every day. Was in a platoon. That's all right. Sonny Jackson overachieved, hitting 340. So it kind of balanced out with those guys. Driesen, everyday player, but just 282 is fine. Jeter, underachieved, 282. Dave Cash. A lot of mediocrity I'm looking at here with the offense. Bill Robinson was an all-star a year ago, not this year, just 252. Homers are down all over the place. Not a lot of walks to help the on-base percentage. Not a lot of offense in general. Just a very meager 261 team. And there's some 300 hitters here. Klein's card, Driesen, Jeter, Cash, Bill Robinson, George Hendrick. They're all close to 300 hitting cards. So it's underachievement for an expansion team. That's not a good mix. Pitching. Don Wilson's the #1 starter. He pitched okay. 332 ERA, just 2-5 record. Doc Ellis was the lone all-star, mostly because it was 1971 and he started that all-star game for the Pirates. He'll have to find a new card, I believe. Tom Hall was the default closer. Wayne Simpson, he got injured in 70. He has a decent card remaining, and he pitched very well, as you can see, a 69-cent ERA. The long guys, Vince Colbert and Jesse Jefferson, were just really bad and hurt this team trying to hold on leads. And you could see the 1-5 record by Colbert and Jefferson as long men. That's unacceptable. That's just, yeah, it's just not going to work out in a division where everybody else got better. So now let's take a look at the Ohio players stack here. As what we're going to do is we're going to pull out the cards that do indeed have a, I guess you could call it a, the 71 cards. We'll pull that total of 8 of these. These expansion teams are always curious because they pull from all over baseball. They're not limited to where they can get their players from. They're everywhere. And you're left with 12 cards remaining that we're going to look at right now. And these 8 players, all from 71, we'll get an analysis of these guys at the end of the video to see if they're going to come back or not, be traded, be put on waivers, be retired. But at least we can see who's coming back, how many pitchers and how many hitters. You're looking for a 7-5 split if you can get it as the closest to balance. And they have the 7-5 split, so they're equally distributed, needing 2 hitters and 2 pitchers, or 5 hitters and 3 pitchers. Let's take a look at the offense first here. And some nice pieces here, really nice pieces here. I don't see a catcher. So they have Driesen coming back to play first base, was a red. Cash plays second. Darryl Thomas can play short, though he's not particularly very good. And then you have, that's on the lens there we go. Then you have Larry Lentz. He could play second or short. Gene Klein's, this is that card I'm talking about. One more year out of this card, and they're going to need him to play every day because he hit 334 with it. George Hendrick. And then you have Bill Robinson. That's a nice little offense there. There's 3 good outfielders, 2 good infielders, and these 2 guys can play second and short too. You don't really need Lentz that much. Second and short, but you got Cash at second. You can move Daryl Thomas out of there. But anyway. And then the pitching, here is a problem in that Rudy May is a starter that comes back. He's fine. But these other guys are really mediocre or worse, to be kind. Vince Colbert, Jesse Jefferson, you know, they just had a 4.56 and 4.11 ERAs. Simpson did really well, as you saw in the stats, with his Cincinnati card to 72 after missing 71. And then Tom Hall's the best, probably the best overall pitcher on this team. Relief 4, starter 7. You can't get much more versatile than that. He was the closer a year ago, but the problem is he only pitched 11 innings because there was nothing to close. So for some reason this team collects starting pitchers. They can't find relief pitchers, so Hall was put into a relief role. You see, he was a very important part of that Cincinnati Red team. You're starting to see that a reason why some of your traditional major league teams struggle a little bit. It's because some very important pieces like Tom Hall get picked up by expansion teams. So they have the semblance of a good offense to start with. They really need to bring back, they got to bring Doc Ellis and Don Wilson and maybe Al Downing back. So let's see what these Ohio players do with those 8 players from 1971 that have to be kept, waived, retired, or traded. All right, we're taking now a look at these 71 players, beginning with the hitters. And the first guy on the list is Ike Brown, who was a Tiger player, had a great 71 card with a lot of power and walks. And let's see how much time he has left here. All with Detroit. So this was the card we used, a 359 on base and a 482 slugging. That's a heck of a card for an extra player before the DH became instituted. The DH arrived in 73. 2 more cracks with Mr. Ike Brown. Boy, that 73 card would be nice if they made it. We'll check that out. Actually, even the 72 card is okay. Let's see if they make it a 72. You can actually see if they made a 73 as well. Because I'm more curious about the 73 card there. So let's see if that card does exist for Detroit. Did they make Ike Brown here in 73? Yes, they do. So he's a keeper. I like that card. And he can usually be versatile enough to play a bunch of different positions. So I'm going to put... I know he's got a 72 card because he has more plate appearances. You can just tell right here without even looking. Well, actually, it might be close. Let's go look on 72, Ike Brown, see if he's with the Tigers here as well. Let's see. Gates Brown, of course. Yeah, Ike Brown's there both years. So he's a keeper, and you have to decide whether you want to keep him or 72 or 73. The good news is he qualifies for waivers. If you find 4 other guys you like more, you can put them on waivers and someone else can grab them. So he'll continue his career, though. That's a decent card. Next up, Elrod Hendricks. How many Elrods are there? Well, there's a couple Ellies, because there's Ellie Rodriguez and Ellie Hendricks, but there's only Elrod, only one Elrod, and here he is. He had a really nice 71 as a 250 hitter with a 720 OPS. Those would be his top marks for his entire career, except for a little bit with the Yankees and 11 at-bats in 77. Generally a guy who is on the edge of the league, who doesn't always get into it, has missed a couple seasons because he wasn't very good. So we have 72, 3, 4, and 5 on the books here. He does participate in all those years. His numbers are really harsh, aren't they there? In 72, oh boy. You know, for Baltimore or the Cubs as an extra player. He's not there with us. There, let's see if he's up here with Baltimore. Nope, not there either. So he's not with them. How about the Cubs? Not there either. So this is a really tough one here. I think you got to retire him. You can't give him waivers because he doesn't have a 72 card, even though he had 98 plate appearances, hit 155 for a couple clubs. No one's going to pick him up on waivers anyway. So I would say retire Elrod Hendricks. Doesn't mean his career's over. You can pull guys out of retirement in the draft. But statistically, he just does not have anything that you can build on. A left-handed hitting catcher with power is nice if you can get some, timely hits and so forth. But right now, he's on the retired list. If they have too many guys on this retired list, we might kick him onto a keeper list. But he cannot be put on waivers. You have to have a 72 card to get waivers. That could make it difficult for Ohio. They might have to trade him. All right, next up is Chuck Hinton. He was a Cleveland player. Had some nice performances, 69 and 70. And did really well with the limited playing time. So here we are, 69, and there's 70, 318 card. And Ohio used that 70 card a few times at age 36. In half a season, he hit 318, 869 OPS. But 71 is his last year, as you can see. That's the card we just used. I also could have deduced this, and I'll start showing you a quicker way of doing this. Right here, I would have known to retire him. But it was nice to look at Chuck Hinton's card because he did so well for this team. But this would speed up the process if I needed it to. I know he has to be retired. It doesn't exist in 72. So Hinton joins Elrod Hendricks as retired. Next up, Sonny Jackson. Atlanta center fielder, but also a shortstop. From 63 to 74. So he's got 3 cracks left at this league. 71, he hit 258, 626. The numbers get worse. 74 is not going to exist, 7 plate appearances. Does he get waivers in 72 for the Braves? This is a guy I would like to cut. He's just not particularly good. 72 Braves, did they make his card? S. Jackson, there it is. Atlanta, right there, S. Jackson. So he qualifies for waivers. Let's put him there. You got to hope if you're this expansion team, you can find a guy better than Sonny Jackson somewhere in the draft. If not, nobody else wants him, come back home. Come back to Ohio. Next up, John Jeter. This is going to be a little bittersweet. This great card from 71 that we had for 4 cracks. And we had this card for 4 cracks, and it's finally over. So there it is. 71 card, 320, but only a 333 on base, 413 slugging. After that, for Jeter, he does have 2 more cards. These are this number of plate appearances. I don't have to check. Strat-O-Matic always puts guys in the league with that many plate appearances. The performances are not very good. You'd have to look a little further into this and see if the platoons are opportunistic. The stats generally are not here. But let's put him on waivers because we really like the pitching that's coming up. Beginning with Don Wilson, I'm going to say no-brainer here. I know he will continue until his untimely death. Yeah, through 74. What a tragedy that was. So Don Wilson, we do have 72, 3, and 4. They're all good years, and they all earn 3 days rest. This is just no-brainer. The question only remains, which year do you pick, and is he the ace? So that's a strong keep for Don Wilson. His all-star card is one we just used, but really, he's just as good throughout his Houston tenure. An Ohio player desperately needs Don Wilson to lead this team. You've got to have an anchor. And Houston could afford to lose Don Wilson with guys like Joe Niekro and Ken Forsch and J.R. Richard coming through their pipeline to join Larry Dierker. Next up, Al Downing. This is another no-brainer. They should be overjoyed that they got these guys in the expansion draft because I guarantee you the Dodgers, here's with the Yankees, when you pitch for the Dodgers, they'd love to have these guys. In the case of the Dodgers, you're only limited to 3 lefties. So they have Tommy John, Claude Osteen, and Jim Brewer. So they can have a 4th one. And this team says, come to, here we are, it's 71, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So he's got 4 years to consider. Really, he goes to the bullpen in the last part of that, but he can still pitch on 3 days rest next year in 72. No brainer. Al Downing is returning. And the last player, and this is a no-brainer too, folks, and this team's going to have perfect math. It's Doc Ellis. This team might shut the phones off in the offseason because they know what they want to do. Doc Ellis, 71, started in the All-Star game. He still has some nice years coming up, of course. Pirates, he's not going to pitch on 3 days rest though, if you notice, until eventually he gets to New York in 76, which is a year. This year's not available, not until the following year, which would be the year 2025. My goodness, because we're only considering 72, 3, 4, 5 for next year, and so they don't need him to pitch on 3 days rest because you have Don Wilson and Al Downing doing that, or Rudy May. So any of these years are fine. He's excellent in all of them. No brainer again. Doc Ellis. So hey, you get 3 great starting pitchers on an expansion team. You know that's how you build. You know, you got 20 roster spots. If 3 of the roster spots are excellent, it makes it a lot easier to take lousy guys elsewhere. So getting 3 great starting pitchers that'll pitch into the 7th inning most nights, with Rudy May backing that up, this is a team that really should leave these guys out there for 7 innings. Billy Martin should manage these guys. Billy Martin was notorious for leaving his starters in there. Wilson, Downing, Ellis, and May, and the dreadful bullpen except for Tom Hall. That's the formula moving forward. So when you do the math, look at this. You've got 4 keepers, 2 waivers, and 2 retires. That's exactly right. That's all they need to do. They're not gonna take any phone calls in the offseason. They're gonna, or they don't have to. And so now with 2 teams data, we know we have 8 keepers, 3 waived, and 5 retires after a couple teams have finished their offseason looks. All right, thanks for checking out Eliminating the Ohio Players. We'll see you next time.